So what was the first thing you remember about the war? Anything at all? What was the first memory of the wartime?
First memory? Well, that's hard. If it's associated with war, it was probably the sailors in the naval barracks, which was about 50 yards from the back of the house, North Hayling. That's where I remember them, because they used to come round a lot.
So where is it you lived? What did you live in?
In North Hayling Island.
In a house, farmhouse?
Farmhouse, 2 up, 2 down, and we had oh yes, I do remember the awful air raid shelter at the end of the garden, because I hated that. It was damp, and in the worst of the war we had to go and sleep in there at night. We'd go down there when we went to bed, and then we'd have to go stay there till the morning, because it was quite bad at one point when they were trying to bomb Portsmouth, and we were just along the coast. And they used to light fires along there to try and attract to sort of mislead the planes, the enemy planes, and they dropped their bombs on us instead of Portsmouth. I can remember that.
So what was it like at school?
Oh, school. Well, when you're young, you're not aware of the seriousness of the situations that we were in. We had air raid shelters, brick ones, over in the field. When the siren went off, really you had to all line up and march down to the shelter, and you had to stay there till the siren all clear went off. We didn't really do much lessons in the air raid shelters. It was mucking about, but it was quite frequent, you know. Yes, I remember school very well. I loved learning, but I didn't like the teachers very much, apart from 1 or 2. We had a headmaster who was a real bully. He'd come and grab you underneath your chin and shake your head for all he was worth, and it was painful. Nasty man, hated by everybody. I can remember him. But I like going to school. I love learning. You know.
Did you remember ever losing people?
Who?
Losing people. Did you ever have?
Oh yes, when yes we did. We had a whole family wiped out one night, and in assembly the next morning, we were told that the children wouldn't be coming back to school. They'd had to received a direct hit, and they all got killed, and that was awful. That was dreadful.
Do you remember how?
But it's different when you're a child. You feel sad because you know you won't see the children anymore. But the seriousness of the situation, I can't recall it ever. I was never frightened. Never frightened. When the sirens went off, we were told that if we heard enemy aeroplanes, we had to lay in the nearest ditch face down and wait till they've gone over, which was ridiculous, really, because sometimes the ditches would be full of water. So it really wasn't very sensible. And there was a lot of, all the Germans are wicked. You know what I mean? They told us that the Germans were wicked, and if they caught you, they'd kill you, which was rubbish, absolute rubbish. But we were frightened. We thought that if the Germans came in, they were to kill us all, which is propaganda, really, wasn't it? But I still don't remember being frightened. Not exactly.
And
we remember I lived in a very close community, little village at North Hayling. Everybody knew everybody else. Half of them were my aunts and uncles, and those that weren't we called aunt and uncle anyway, because in those days you treated people with respect. You know, even as children you respected your elders.
How about guns and bombs going off? Do you remember all that?
Oh yes. My uncle stood outside the air raid shelter in my aunt's house up the road one day, and my mother had been telling him for ages, the Germans can see you smoking outside. No, he wouldn't have it, and they dropped a bomb in the orchard, and it went off, and he lost his eye, and they were all the family were injured. I remember that. My mother blamed it on him smoking, as if they could see him. But we didn't understand really. Where they had a great big heavy anti-aircraft gun at Hayling Bridge, just over the bridge in that piece of green where the garage is. And when that went off, boy, everything shook. We called it Big Bertha. And it was, but I think what I remember D-Day, didn't know it was D-Day, but we had the soldiers billeted in the farm. They slept in the cow sheds and everywhere, and they set up like a field kitchen where where they used to put all the machinery, and they were lovely. They used to, of course, with us children, they left their families behind, so they spoilt us, and we loved having them. But what I remember is getting up one morning, and it was all quiet, and I looked out the window and everything was gone. And remember, we'd had weeks of lorries and soldiers and busy all the time, and it was dead quiet. And I wanted to know where they'd all gone. And my mum said to me, "They've gone now," she said, "and most of them won't come back. They'll never see their families again." And I can remember being very upset over that, but we didn't half miss them. They'd gone off on D-Day, hadn't they? They did. But they went overnight, and I never heard them because the children sleep soundly. I didn't hear them moving out. Remember that. And of course the sailors in the camp, because being so close to the house and the farmhouse stood on its own, we didn't have near neighbours, so that they would come round in the evening, and my dad was away in the army, so my mother was there with us children on her own, so they would come and check to see if she was all right. "You all right, missus?" And yeah.
How about Thorny?
Thorny, we used to watch the airplanes take off. That was another thing we used to do. You get up in the morning under the fence, and up we'd rather, or me on my own usually, up the field and lay on the bank, and across the water was Thorny Island and the runway where the planes took off. And we used to watch them taking off. I used to count them as they went. And the great big bombers, when they took off, were awful, because I would be willing them to get up in the air, because it looked as though they were going to go straight off the edge, but they didn't. They went off, and we used to count them, and then later on we'd count them back, and my mum would say to me, "Can you hear that one?" You know, and you could hear them. Some of their engines would be damaged, and they'd limp back, and very often a lot of them didn't come back. And my mum used to say, "They've gone." It's a shame, isn't it? But even then, you know, even as children, you do not understand the seriousness of war. I didn't think about it too much. I enjoyed my life. Very, very rural, very, not like today, totally different. We did as we were told.
Remember the end of the war?
Oh, the only thing I remember about the end of the war, to be quite honest with you, was the street party. They shut off Clovelly Road, and you don't realise how many children we had in the village until they put all the trestle tables all down the middle, and all this food appeared, which was a bit of a shock, because during the war you had food sufficient for your needs, but you certainly didn't have an abundance. But all these jellies turned up, and sandwiches, and they were all laid out, and we had little things of lemonade made with powdered lemon. It was bitter as anything. We thought it was lovely. And we had a party, but that's all. Oh, we had a party in the local hall, which the sailors gave when they left the camp, because the camp was returned then to a holiday camp, which it hadn't been in the war. And that was nice. We had a party, a farewell party, given to us by the naval people. But we had them most of the war there.